Every time I come in here and shut the door ready to film, the dog scratches at the door to come in. I've already let him in and out a good couple of times. He comes in, has a little look around at what I'm doing, then he'll go back out there and then he'll scratch at the door to come in. I think he's just worried that he's going to miss out on something. It's really funny. Anyway, welcome back to today's video, or welcome to today's video, I should say. I am still a little bit out of sorts over here at the moment. I mentioned in last week's video that we've been having a lot of decorating done. We've been having our ensuite bathroom refitted. So we live in like a townhouse and it's on 3 stories, and obviously our bedroom is, well, not obviously, but our bedroom is right up in the loft, and it means we've got 2 staircases basically to get up to our bedroom. So it's been such hard work for the builders, and it was so hot last week as well for them to be running up and down 2 flights of stairs, and everything was just so dusty. It took forever to clean. So as well as sort of trying to clean up the mess and get everything sorted in the bathroom, while everything is in a mess, I'm also trying to declutter a little bit as well. So I've been decluttering like our wardrobes and our bathroom cupboards and all that kind of stuff. So I feel a little bit as though, you know, when you're decluttering and you're doing it for a good purpose and you want to feel more minimalistic, but while you're doing it, you just feel as though there's just stuff everywhere. That's how I feel at the moment. And also this week, this working week for me, has been a little bit up in the air. So this isn't the video that I was planning to film this week actually, but something happened with that video and I couldn't film what I was supposed to film anyway. It will probably be coming at a later date, but in the end I just kind of gave in with everything and thought, you know what, I'm just going to film a really nice, relaxed, sort of chatty type video where I include lots of things that I love doing, like baking, knitting, reading, sewing and all that kind of stuff, and I know lots of you enjoy those things as well, so I really hope that today's cobbled together video will work out. So in terms of sewing for this week, I do have my Minerva brand ambassador Make to Sew Up, which is my Style Arc Almy Blouse. So I was going to sew that one up in the evening and not necessarily film it, but because of everything being so up in the air, I thought actually I'm going to sew it in the day and I will share it with you, because I know lots of you were quite interested in this blouse, and actually I'm quite interested as well to see how this is going to turn out. So I will pop in a picture of this as well, because I know sometimes it can be quite bright in here, but this is the Almy woven top, or Almy woven top by Style Arc. It's a really pretty button down floaty blouse with a lovely ruffle collar to it. So I love a blouse like this, as you'll know. I love a floaty button-up blouse with a lovely drapey collar. It's just perfect for my kind of day-to-day summer wear. So I wanted to sew that blouse up, and I have this lovely crepe fabric from Minerva. Don't want to freak everyone out with my tea being here with this lovely white fabric. I know I've done that before. So yeah, this is from Minerva. I'll list this fabric below. It has a super long name to it, but basically it is a Dobby crepe fabric. It's so lovely. I've washed this and it didn't need any ironing. So I don't know if it has a bit of like polyester or something in it, but I'm glad it doesn't need ironing anyway. It's got a little bit of stretch to it as well. But yeah, it's just such a lovely, pretty ivory colour. And then it has this Dobby, I want to say print, but I mean like texture woven to it. Texture, that's the word. So I'm going to get that cut out today. Hopefully that's my plan, and then see if I have any time to sew, and then hopefully tomorrow I will have more time to do a bit more sewing. So as you will have seen, I have been baking this morning as well, and I thought I would share the recipe. I think I must have shared this recipe before with you, so I'm sorry if I have and I can't remember, but I thought I'd share it again anyway because it's such a good one. So I've made this morning a chocolate and banana loaf cake from this very old book of mine, The Great British Book of Baking. This is the book, I think, that accompanied the first series of the Great British Bake Off, and in my humble opinion it is the best baking book ever. I use this all the time, and it just has those kind of recipes in it that are just really easy. It does have some more complicated recipes in there as well, like bread and hot cross buns and all those kind of things, but there's a good few recipes in here for people like me that just love a good throw it all in the same tin kind of recipe and be done with it. So this is a recipe that I make all the time. It's chocolate banana bread. So it's basically a really easy banana bread recipe. You put all of your wet ingredients in one bowl, and you put your dry ingredients in another, and then you mix them all together, add chocolate chips. You can add walnuts as well, but my children don't like walnuts, so I leave those out. Really good for using up things like bananas that are going bad, and eggs and things. So this morning I had 2 bananas that were going bad, and I also had some eggs that needed using up, so it was a really good recipe to just throw together. This recipe, I do love it, but it does remind me of COVID and lockdown times. You know, that really weird period where we were all at home and everyone just seemed to be making banana bread. I think I shared this recipe on Instagram or on my blog or something, and I just remember making it so much in lockdown, probably like all of us. Welsh Barra Brith. This is another good throw it all in kind of recipe, but you have to be a bit more organised with this one because it's a tea loaf. I really love a tea loaf. There's just nothing more delicious than a lovely buttered piece of tea loaf and a cup of tea, I don't think. But you do have to soak the fruit in tea overnight for this one, so you have to be organised enough to remember to do that before you throw everything else in. But this is a lovely, delicious recipe as well. You can see how old this book is because it's falling apart, but I think they do still sell it, so if it is on Amazon or anything, then I will link it down below. I just thought I would share as well that the other thing that is putting me out of sorts this week is that my editing software that I have used ever since I started YouTube for editing my videos has come to the end of its life, and it seems as though I can't use it anymore, which is so sad. I don't hate technology, but I don't really enjoy learning new technology, and I feel as though I got to such a good place with editing my videos with this software. I was getting more quick at it, I was getting quicker at it, and felt as though I was sort of, you know, getting reasonably good at it and learning new things like music and photos and all that kind of stuff. And now it's come to the end of its life and it's not really working properly anymore. And you might have noticed in my last couple of videos that there were a couple of glitchy little bits that may not have even been that noticeable, but they were to me. I know I just need to stick with it, and probably it's one of those things where I just need to do it, and the more I do it I will get better at it. But I wanted to mention it just in case when I come to edit this video or videos that are in the near future, if you feel as though they're not as well edited as they maybe usually are, then that is why. But it's really made me feel sort of really unsettled this week, knowing that I need to learn that, because I've got lots of lovely videos coming up that I need to do with lovely sponsors and things like that. And because I know that it's come at such a busy time and I need to learn this new stuff, it's really made me feel really sort of anxious and, I don't know, not really myself, because I do like to make things as best as I can, and if I can't do that, then yeah, it really just throws me out. So I thought I would just mention that as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave my cake to cook and I'm going to have a go at cutting out this pattern now, and I will catch up with you later. cut out and ready to go. I'm really excited about making this actually. It feels like it's going to be such a pretty blouse if it all goes according to plan. Let's hope it does. Thought I'd give you a very quick look at how Style Arc patterns are written, because I know I get a lot of questions about these patterns because they are kind of well known for being vague, aren't they? So this is a pattern that I've bought from them printed. So you can buy their patterns PDF and stick them together as you would a normal PDF, or you can buy the printed pattern. So the printed pattern actually comes as one big sheet, so I guess as you would buy it from like a copy shop or something like that, and the instructions and the front image are all on the same sheet. So when you come to cut your pattern, what you need to do is just chop off this end like this. So you have your front image there. I really hope this is going to show up on the camera. Obviously it's very tiny. And then here you have your sizing information. So as I mentioned, there are only finished garment measurements on this pattern. I don't know if they do that for all of their patterns or if it's just this one, I can't remember. I'm sure on their website they do give body measurements as well, but I do tend to go off of finished garment measurements quite a lot anyway. So I have sized down to a size 6 for this one, and I'm hoping that's going to work okay, because it's still going to give me 1.5 inches of movement around the bust and then quite a lot of movement around the hips as well. And I don't want this to be too oversized, because I really hate it when sleeveless blouses are really big and baggy under your arms. So I'm just hoping that I've picked the right size there. So sizing information is here, and then you get this little section here called helpful hints, and that just basically tells you to make sure you cut all your notches and fuse where it tells you to fuse, and make all the pattern markings and all that kind of stuff. And then this little section here is the construction information, or the instructions. So as far as instructions go, that is all you get. So these are all the written instructions, but then they do have on the following couple of pages some diagrams for what you're supposed to do. So yeah, they are vague instructions. I do think Style Arc are putting more sew-alongs onto their website now, which is really helpful. I'm not sure if they've got a sew-along for this one actually. If I get stuck at all, I will have a look. The one good thing I do think that Style Arc do well is to mark their patterns well. So there's lots of notches on the patterns for where you're supposed to start and stop things. So for example, with this blouse, you've got the notch here for when you start the binding, and then that goes all around the neckline, and then you've got a little mark in here for when the flounce should finish as well. So yeah, the patterns are always really well marked, and they do actually mark the seam allowance in as well. So you do have to be careful when you're cutting that you cut the cut line rather than the seam allowance line. I also wanted to mention that I did shorten my pattern by about 6 centimetres because this was going to come up very long. There aren't any lengthen or shorten lines included on the pattern piece, so what I did was just found a quite straight sort of long point on the grain line, and then I drew 2 lines for the amount that I wanted to remove, and then I folded up my pattern piece like that just to remove some of the length, and then I just sort of folded over the side seam as well to make sure that it matched up, and then I did the exact same on the front as well. I do actually think it's still going to be quite long but I'm going to leave a bit of length for my first one just to see how it turns out, and I might need to remove length again when it's finished. What I don't want to remove is the lovely curved hem of this blouse because it has such a pretty sort of curved bottom. It would be much easier if I could just chop off 1 inch of a straight hem, but because it's got that lovely curved bottom, I just want to be a bit careful with it and remove the length from the middle of the pattern rather than just at the bottom. So everything's cut out. I'm going to leave the video here for today and hopefully come back either later tonight if I have time or tomorrow to start doing some sewing. Just come in here to give you a quick update on my knitting at the moment. So I'm still working my way through my Wintmore cardigan by Amy Loudon of Tailoress Studio. So at the moment I'm working my way through sleeve gate and it's taken me absolutely ages to get these sleeves done. I sometimes feel as though sleeves go quite quickly, especially when you're knitting a cardigan top down. Most of the work is already done for you, isn't it? This is very rolled up where it's been in the knitting bag. So you've already got half of the sleeve essentially done for you. So if you were knitting flat, obviously this would be where you would be decreasing for the raglan or shaping for the top of the armhole. But yeah, when you're doing top down, you don't need to do that part. You just need to join from under the armhole and then essentially knit to the wrist. But yeah, for some reason this is taking me forever. Although I did have a good spurt of doing this last night and got a good 10 centimetres or so done. So I think it's just more been that while we've been having work on the house done and everything, and when the weather's been nice, I just haven't been knitting as much. I always normally knit the ribbing on sleeves on 4-pointed needles or double-pointed needles or whatever they are, where you do them with the 4 needles. But I always find that so fiddly, and I know lots of you on here recommended that I get a really tiny little circular needle to do the ribbing in. So I've recently purchased one of those. So I think for the first time I'm going to be doing the ribbing on the circular needle. I say for the first time, I can't remember if I did it on the circular needle last time or if I bought it after doing that cardigan. I think I might have bought it after I knit my grey Whitmore and just shared about how fiddly I found the 4-pointed needles. And then you recommended me to get the circular needle, so I think I brought one in preparation for next time. So it'll be good to give that one a go. But yeah, as always, I am enjoying knitting this Whitmore, and this is a lovely yarn. I'll link it down below. It's the Style Arc Cashmere Merino, I think it is. I will pop the name on the screen if I can, and I'll definitely link the yarn below. But it does have that kind of smoothness to it, so it's really nice to knit with. And I just can't wait to have this one done now. I really want to move on to knitting something else, and as much as I try to be sometimes like a 2 project at a time type of person, I just don't seem to be able to work like that with knitting. I seem to need to get one project done and then move on to the next thing. That said, I do have a little bit more knitting to share with you, but before I move on to that, I just wanted to give a quick mention to my lovely light that's behind me, which you will probably have seen before. It's my Serious Light by Serious Readers. Just want to share with you a really exciting competition that Serious Readers are running over July and August, so throughout the summer months. So the competition is really quick and easy to enter. I will leave a link below this video, and all you need to do is pop over, click that link, enter some details, and you could be in with a chance of winning 3 amazing prizes. You know how much I love my Serious Light. I really do use it all the time, and I can highly recommend them for close-up work. And while I'm sitting here in the place where I normally use my light, I thought I would just quickly share with you how I use it day to day, especially when I'm knitting. So what I tend to do is just reach up to my Serious Light here, pop the light on like that, and the lights use something called daylight wavelength technology, which is such a mouthful to say. So the daylight wavelength technology replicates daylight as close as is technically possible, so it makes you feel as though you are working in daylight, even though you are working in the evening in your home. So as well as that, the lights also come with a dimmer switch as standard. The dimmer switch is located on the back here, so all I need to do is just use my finger to roll over the switch, and you can see that it's getting brighter and now it's getting darker. As well as the dimmer function, the light is also fitted with beam width function, and that is adjusted using this rim here, which you just twist one way and the other, so that you get either more or less brightness and focus depending on where you might need it and what you're working on. So as well as having all of those different light options, what I love about my Serious Light is that it's so easy to move from one area to the other. So as I've shared in previous videos, I keep the light here mostly. It just lives in the living room behind me, and then I use it all the time in the evenings. But often as well, where I cut out in the dining room, if I'm ever cutting out or sewing in the evening, it's really easy to just pick up and move into the next room. It's so lightweight. I can just lift it up, unplug it, lift it up, plug it in the next room, and move it around to focus on whatever I'm working on. And I found it comes in so handy for tracing patterns when it's dark, cutting out fabric when it's dark, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you do suffer from eye strain and headaches and things like that, which knitting and embroidery and all that kind of close-up stuff can bring on, they're also recommended by optometrists as well, so they're really reliable. You know, you can rely on them, and you know they're good for your eyesight as well. As well as running the competition throughout the summer, Serious Readers are also offering £100 off of any of their high definition lights on the website using my code SALLY24. This code also entitles you to free delivery and a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So if you're not happy with the light after 30 days of trying it, you can return it, no questions asked. As always, I will leave the link to the Serious Readers competition down below, and also a link to their website where you can check out all of the different lights that are available. Thanks to Serious Readers for sponsoring this part of the video. Now I will move on to the other knitting that I've been doing recently. So as well as knitting my way through my Whitmore cardigan, I also mentioned in a recent video that I really wanted to knit myself a camisole or a vest. So I've been hunting around for a lovely knitted cami pattern, and I found a couple that I really like, but so far I haven't had the best start with either of them. So the first pattern that I found this one on Instagram actually, and I really fell in love with the lace pattern. This is by Mackie Mill, and I hope I'm saying that right. This is a French designer, but she does have some knitting patterns in English as well. All of her patterns are so lovely, and I really encourage you to pop over and have a look at her website because, yeah, she has some lovely designs there. But yeah, I was really attracted to this lovely button-up camisole, so I brought the pattern. The yarn used is a specific type of yarn. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was described as a sport weight yarn. So I actually went shopping to a local yarn store near us, which I recently discovered in St Neots. It's a lovely, lovely shop. If you're local to me in Bedfordshire, then pop over and have a look at this little shop. It's called Button and Knit, I think, and I'll link it in the description below. They don't have Instagram or anything like that. They do have a website, but anyway, it was a really lovely little shop, and the lady in there was so helpful, and she helped me to decide what kind of yarn to use. And in the end we went for, and I'm going to have to list this on the screen again because I can't remember the name of it, but it was a Debbie Bliss yarn, I think, and it was a double knitting, but it was a very, very thin double knitting. So the lady thought that that would work really well for this pattern. So I whipped up a tension square and it came out okay. But for the actual camisole pattern, you need to use a provisional cast on because it has like a double border of stocking stitch at the bottom. So I taught myself how to do that, cast on my size, and it came out absolutely huge. Like I could have wrapped it around myself twice, I think. So that really put me off of starting this pattern, and I was doing the first size anyway in the recommended needles, which was 3.5 millimeters. And yeah, it just really put me off of starting it because I knew that the sizing wasn't going to work at all. I guess I could size down to a 3 millimeter needle and see what happens. But for the moment, I'm a little bit put off of that because I really don't want to work all of that lace and then it not to fit. So this one at the moment has been put to one side. Let me know if you have any advice or anything that you think I might have done wrong on that, and if you know any more about sport weight yarn and the comparison in the UK, let me know, because it might just be that I've used the wrong yarn there and I need to either size down my needles or use a thinner yarn. So the second pattern that I decided that I might have a go at was this one. It's called the Galax Tank by Andrea Gorn, and that's the main image for it. I was completely inspired to have a go at this by following Hello Lavender Designs over on Instagram. She has some beautiful knits on her Instagram page, and she's actually knit up a few of these little tops, and I just thought they looked so nice. I was inspired to have a go at my own, so I downloaded this one from Ravelry. So it just has quite a lot of stocking stitch, this one, and then a panel of lace on the front and back, just leading up to the V neckline. So I thought this one might be slightly easier and a little bit less worrying in terms of the size because it is a little bit cropped and boxy anyway. So I was hoping that if it did turn out a little bit bigger, I might be able to get away with it. So I have tried this pattern in the same yarn, and what I've been doing is just trying to knit the lace from the front. So I've basically been knitting the chart from the pattern and just having a little practice really, and seeing how I got on with the lace. So the lace is pretty much eyelets, but it also includes something called a nup or a noop, and that is basically just knitting a load of times into the same stitch and then knitting all the stitches together to form kind of a bobble, if you can see there. So I've been having a go at that, but at the moment I can't get my tension right at all for these noops. I'm knitting it too tight so that when I come to knit the 7 stitches together, I just cannot get my needle into the 7 stitches. So I'm going to have a more of a practice with that really and try and get my head around those. So that's where I am with my cami tank tops, which I'd really like to get on with after I've finished this Whitmore. I really do want to knit a cami pattern of some kind, but yeah, I've not had a lot of success so far with either of the patterns that I've tried. You can just leave the nup or the nupe out actually and just knit the stitch and have the eyelet pattern, but something in me really wants to try and master it and just have another lace stitch under my belt. So again, if you have any tips on how to knit nupes, nups, nupes, let me know in the comments. I'm sorry if the washing machine is noisy while I'm filming this clip. I was going to wait to talk until it was done, but I just need to let you know about something that I've come across in the pattern. So I've done the shoulder seams of the blouse, and I've also stabilised the front, what will be the washing machine. 1 second, that's better. So I've stabilised what will be the button band at the front, and also I've just stabilised the neck band as well, or the neckline, with a little piece of stabilising tape just to make sure that that doesn't stretch out, and it does suggest you do that in the pattern. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm on to doing the flounce now, and I thought I would just let you know something interesting that I've come across in the pattern. So this is the pattern piece for the flounce, and it tells you to cut 1 pair of these. So nowhere does it tell you to cut this on the fold, and nowhere in the pattern instructions does it tell you to join the 2 pieces together. So I was really confused about that, couldn't work it out and everything, and looked on the actual excuse the dog. I looked on the actual pattern instructions, and the diagram here would suggest that this flounce should have been cut on the fold because it says fold here. So this is really strange because there's even 2 notches in the straight edge of the centre back of the flounce, suggesting that you would match those up to join a seam in the back of the flounce. So I am completely stumped by that, but either way, somehow this flounce has got to be joined or cut into 1 piece. I've cut mine as a pair, so I'm going to join mine together at the centre back seam with a really narrow seam allowance, and I'm just going to have to go from there. But how strange. That was really baffling me. So I've just pinned together my flounce pieces in the middle, and I'm just going to seam them, neaten them and press them open, I think. And then what we need to do is just neaten the outer edges of the flounce and then sew it to the neckline. And I think the way that I'm going to neaten them, the pattern does say that you can overlock the edge and then just turn the edge under. I'm going to have a go with my what's it called, rolled hem foot. I've had a little practice, it seemed to be working really well. So I'm at least going to go around the bottom edge of the flounce in that way, and then I think I might, sometimes it's quite difficult with a rolled hem, isn't it, to get the very ends of whatever you're hemming neat. So I'm going to have a look at that once the main outer edge is done and see how best to neaten like the bits that are going to be here. So that's where I'm at the moment. A very strange bit of pattern that was. a little catch up. This is probably one of the fiddliest patterns I've ever sewn. So my rolled hem went okay on the flounce, but as always I find with rolled hems anyway, there's always a little bit that doesn't get caught properly. So what I did was do one rolled hem and then I turned it over again and I kind of did a double hem. So I sewed one edge with the rolled hem foot, including a couple of bits where it just missed, so I had a few fray edges. And then I turned it under again and enclosed all the raw edges that were missed and just sewed again a really narrow hem with a normal sewing machine foot. So then you sew the flounce to the neckline, matching up the notches and everything, and then what you do is just bias bind the neckline. And you do that, so it's really narrow, and I am finding that this fabric doesn't want to iron very well because it's a crepe. When you hover the steam over it, it's kind of crinkling up and it's really difficult to press properly. So I ended up just kind of finger pressing, and even with my bias binding where I needed to fold it in half, I was just folding it in half with my hands as I went along rather than pressing it in half, because I was really worried that the steam was going to make the binding shrink. So I do need to give this a bit of a press. The flounce is on and hopefully you can see how it's looking. So the next thing I need to do is, well, it does actually say in the pattern to bias bind the armholes first, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the bias binding on the armholes at the end because I find that's neater. So I'm going to do that after I do the side seam. So what I'm going to do next is actually do the button plackets. So again, this pattern has got a little bit weird. It doesn't tell you anywhere in the pattern to finish the raw edge of the button band or the centre front that's going to be turned into the inside. So yeah, it is getting rather strange, this pattern. I think a lot of it is open to interpretation, but this button placket is actually finished in a similar way to the Darling Ranger's dress. So I've made that pattern like a million times. So I think what I'm going to do is actually do the button placket in the same way as the Darling Ranger's dress is done. And when you do that, you turn in a very sort of narrow hem here, and then you turn again, and what you're doing is sewing wrong sides together here at the pointed bit of the button placket, and then you turn it through like that, so that on the inside you've got a really nice neatly finished button placket. So I think that's how I'm going to finish it. But yeah, strange pattern. I mean, I know Style Arc patterns are known for being vague. I haven't had quite as bad an experience with any of the patterns so far as I have with this one. I mean, I think they're just vague, and I think they assume prior knowledge, so they don't tell you to do certain things. You know, like if you were following a beginner pattern, it would tell you step by step exactly what to do. So certain things in these Style Arc patterns are missed, I think. For example, notching the neckline so that you can turn it through and press it once you've done the bias binding and that kind of thing. So I think those kind of things are just perhaps assumed, and it's just assumed that you're going to do those anyway. Anyway, I'm going to have a go at this button placket now, and I will let you know how I get on. Now I'm just going my own way because I just can't make head nor tail of them. Well, I can, they're just extremely vague. So let me show you what I've ended up doing. So I don't think this is how it's supposed to be finished at all on the inside, but I couldn't work out how to do it their way. So the button band, hopefully you can see this in a white. I know it's going to probably blow out a bit on the camera, but the button band is folded to the inside, and you're supposed to be able to encase this binding here, but I couldn't get it to do that, so I've just neatened it myself a little bit by hand, and then I've turned in the bottom of the facing right sides together so that you fold it inwards, and then you've got a button band which I've top stitched down here. So the instructions don't tell you to top stitch for the button band at all. I don't know if it's supposed to be and they're just assuming it or not. And I've also just turned up a very narrow hem on the bottom, which I just overlocked and then turned under. So all I need to do now is just bias bind the armholes. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to try the top on and see about the buttonholes. While I was just doing all of that, I was listening to see if there were any other reviews on this top on YouTube or anything, to see if I could work out how to do the facing on the front, but there wasn't really anything. There was one review, it didn't really tell you how to do that or anything, but the lady that had made the top did say the same as me about the flounce, and the point that she made in the video as well, which is obviously quite right. If it was cut on the fold, you wouldn't be able to cut it on the bias, and you need to cut both pieces on the bias so that they hang flouncily. So the pattern piece is obviously not meant to be cut on the fold. It can't be. So why have they put in the instructions that it's cut on the fold? I don't know. It's all very confusing. So yeah, this has been a bit of a task. So let me bias bind these armholes, and then I will show you the finished top. It's the next day now. Yesterday I had to just end up leaving filming for the day. It took me so long to finish up that blouse in the end, just get everything right and looking neat, and say that I was happy with it. And I ended up with quite a bad headache, not to do with the blouse, but yeah, I just gave up with filming yesterday. So I thought I would just pop on today and just do a little outro to this video, share with you my final thoughts on the blouse, and obviously show you the finished product as well. It actually turns out that I really do like this blouse. I'm really pleased with it. I love the frill here. I just love the style of it. This is my kind of blouse. I really, really like this kind of blouse in summertime. And actually a few years ago now, I was really on the hunt for a similar blouse to this, and I remember trying to have a go at drafting one myself, which didn't really go according to plan. I didn't really understand quite how to do this flounce here at the front. So it's really nice to actually have a pattern with a flounce like that in my pattern library now. I do think it's such a shame about these instructions. I do love Style Arc patterns. I think their designs and their style of the garments they sell, or the patterns they sell, are so lovely and they're so on trend, and I think it's such a shame that they don't put much investment into their pattern instructions. I do think they're trying to be better now, and I know that they are adding some more tutorials and blog tutorials and videos onto their website, but yeah, it is a real shame because this is such a lovely, lovely blouse, and all of their patterns, all the patterns that I've used so far anyway, they're actually really well drafted and they come together really nicely. So I do think that the issue isn't actually with the pattern or the pattern pieces themselves. I do think it's with the instructions, and I am quite tempted to actually email Style Arc and just ask them first of all about the flounce and the whole cutting on the fold or not issue, and then also how they actually finish the inside of the button band, because I couldn't work that out at all in the end. I couldn't even do it in the way that I would normally have done the Darling Ranges dress and blouse. So if I ever make this again, which I probably will because I do really like it now it's done, I'm going to have a think about how I can finish the blouse better myself, because as I said in a previous clip, I just ended up sort of going my own way and finishing it as best as I could. In terms of the fabric, I really do love this fabric. It's such a lovely Dobby crepe from Minerva, and I think it suits this blouse so well, and it's a really lovely ivory colour. It's got a lovely drape to it. The only thing I would say is that I did need to be careful with it with the iron, because now and again I did want to stick to it, but that could be my iron. I'm actually going to buy a new iron. You know what state it's in, you've seen the dirty marks on it, and I have tried to clean it, but it's not cleaning, and there's just a few things with it. It keeps spurting out water and stuff, so I do need a new iron. So that may have just been my own iron. So I think I'm going to end the video here for today. I feel as though this week has been a bit of a week. Things haven't quite gone to plan and things have been a little bit more difficult difficult than I'd expected. I think my lesson is actually never to think to yourself that a sewing project is going to be a quick one, because whenever I think that, things tend to take me a long while. So that's my lesson for the week. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for joining me again on another sewing week, and thank you so much for being here. I really, really do appreciate you watching my videos and commenting and liking the videos and telling me what you think and all of that kind of stuff. I'm honestly so grateful, and I really hope that you do know that. Don't forget to pop over as well and just check out that Serious Readers competition. All you need to do is enter your details and you could be in with a chance of winning one of their amazing lights. So I'll leave that link down below as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you have enjoyed this video, please do leave it a like as well. Otherwise, take care everyone, and I'll look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye.